Taking someone a meal, it's one of those most tried and true ways to share love. But choosing the perfect meal to make isn't always the easiest task. So all week long, we've invited you aboard the Studio 5 dinner train, sharing recipes that are guaranteed dinner train winners, so you can deliver a meal with confidence and care. Brittney Hanks of Home and Kind is a woman we admire for thoughtful, creative recipes. It's great to have you part of this series, Brittney.
Thanks for having me, Amy.
Okay, so I'm excited to learn, what is your go-to meal to make and take to a friend?
My go-to meal includes all of my favorite comfort foods. So I love making a big pot of chicken soup. This is my golden chicken soup. I love a big loaf of crusty bread, and then of course chocolate chip cookies to finish it off.
Okay, I would like to be your neighbor in need because I would love this meal. Let's start with that soup. Walk us through that recipe.
So this is a golden chicken soup. And one thing I love about this soup is it's very rich. It's very just feeds the soul, but also allergy friendly. It's naturally gluten-free and dairy-free. So sometimes if you're taking dinner to someone who has allergies, it's hard to know what to make. But this soup is just full of vegetables and a delicious broth. And it is so rich and good, and it saves because you don't have noodles that are going to soak up all of the liquid. So allergy friendly, but also super comforting, and your whole family's going to love it, and anyone that you gift it to.
Okay, that's huge to have a go-to gluten-free recipe, because I have lots of friends who are gluten-free and I would have no idea what to make. So thanks for bringing this to us.
Yeah, and this one includes, it also is great, obviously, if anyone is sick, because a warm broth feels so nice. And I also love including, I don't know if you've seen this, but this Better Than Bouillon chicken base is so good. You can use it in place of chicken stock, but I love putting it in this soup in addition to chicken stock. Just a tablespoon of this is going to add so much richness and flavor that just makes this soup, takes it over the top.
So you do it in addition. I have to say, I think our last cooking guest recommended the same thing. So Better Than Bouillon, we need to put that in our cart.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you deliver it, that's part of the fun, and you have some containers you really like.
I do. So for soup in particular, it can be tricky to transport it. And I have had some soup delivery failures where I have taken a container that has spilled all over my car, and then I'm trying to clean it up before I gift it to the recipient. So I love keeping a whole bunch of these 32-ounce just plastic to-go containers on hand. You can get a big pack on Amazon, and they're great because they're really deep, perfect for holding a large quantity of soup. I usually fill up a couple of these when I'm putting a meal together. And then it's got an airtight lid on the top, which is nice and they can keep it in their fridge if they're not going to eat it right away. So these are perfect, and they don't have to be washed and returned.
That's what we like to hear. Okay, now I'm always loving if someone brings over homemade bread, which it looks like you know how to make that. So if you're bringing that crusty sourdough, I understand you have a special way to wrap that up to keep it really fresh.
Yeah, with sourdough, especially any kind of crusty bread that you make, whether it's sourdough or not, even if you want to grab something at a bakery, you don't make bread on your own, to keep the nice crusty outer shell, you don't want to put it in a bag that's going to be airtight. In order to keep the crustiness, I just love to use some parchment paper, and you just wrap it up over the bread, and you're going to tie it with some twine. And then it's going to be not only a beautiful presentation, but it's going to keep that nice crustiness on the outside of the bread.
Okay, I never knew that. And you can leave those sides open, or nope, you're folding them in. Okay, so we do want it closed to the outside air, but it doesn't have to be airtight.
Yeah, and if you're delivering it right away, you can even leave the sides open. But if it's going to be sitting out for a while, you can just tuck those in. So it
yeah, that
nice
does add a cute little presentation. Okay, let's talk about this last fantastic idea. You always like to bring a little sweet treat with your meal, so you've got some chocolate chip cookies. How are you doing it?
I have a big sweet tooth, as do many. And my favorite thing to take is just cookie dough balls. So I just make my favorite chocolate chip cookie dough recipe. It's super easy, right in my KitchenAid mixer. I scoop it out onto a sheet pan, and then you're just going to pop that into your freezer for an hour or two until the cookie dough balls are frozen. And then you can just throw them into a Ziploc bag. And once they're frozen, once they've been frozen for a couple hours, they're not going to freeze together since they're nice and solid. And then I put the directions on the outside of the bag in a Sharpie that just tells them what to bake the cookie dough balls at. And then they can have fresh, warm out of the oven cookies whenever they'd like them. And you just bake these up right from frozen.
What a fantastic idea. And then with the directions just right on the front, I mean, let's face it, usually it's mom who's maybe down if you're taking someone dinner.
Yeah.
And so a kid could look at those directions, throw them in the oven, have hot cookies.
Exactly.
Okay.
And with all of this stuff, it's so easy to double batch all of these things. So that's typically what I do when I'm gifting a meal to another family as well. We just double the soup. I make 2 loaves of bread. I double the cookies, and then it's a great meal for yourself and one to take to someone else.
Okay, now what is your method for just packaging this all up for delivery? Anything special?
So I just love these tin containers that are about the shape of like a 9 by 13 pan. And then you can just put your soup right in these, kind of like we already talked about. It's nice to not leave the recipient with a bunch of dishes that they have to then wash and return. So I just like to put everything into your tin container. You got your bread wrapped up here. You can set that nicely in there. And then your cookies. And then you just have a very easy to transport, giftable container, and nothing that they have to worry about returning.
Ideal. Thank you so much for sharing, Brittney. Where can we connect with you for more recipes and inspiration?
So you can find me on Instagram at Home and Kind. I share a bunch of recipes, practical gift ideas over there. And then I also have 3 cookbooks, which are full of simple, family-friendly recipes like this that you can grab at homeandkind.com.
So fun. Thanks, Brittney.
Thanks for having me.